Hey, it's Tori, and welcome back to my channel. Today we welcome the legend himself, Marko Hietala, to the channel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty nicely. It's actually a day off, so the hardest work here is sit down here in the pretty comfy recliner and answer some questions. But
And
before coming home yesterday, I did 5 shows in a row.
oh wow.
Before that, couple of days at home and 6 shows in a row. And now I still got tomorrow off too, which is nice because then there's 10 shows in a row.
Yeah. Well, it's gotta be hard to go out touring and then like have the odd day off here and be able to switch off from tour Marko rather than at home Marko, especially when it's just like a day or two in between.
Yeah, I use the same escapist methods as I use on tour in order to get sleep after the shows and all that. It's either a video game or a book. Well, to
Yes.
catch to sleep, it's definitely the book. Video
Book.
games help with that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I'm a gamer myself, so I'm with you there with the gaming, and sometimes it just engrosses you so much that you're like, oh, wait, I shouldn't have stayed up this late playing this game. But
Mm. That's for sure. Yep.
so you have the new album Roses from the Deep out on February 7th via Nuclear Blast Records. You've already had
Mm.
a few singles out already. Like how have you found the response from the fan base? Or I mean, people now might just be discovering who Marko is today as well with the new music.
Yeah, I know it sounds like a cliche, but I have reason to be pretty pleased because it seems that we managed to build up songs which have a nice, vibe and groove with the rock band. Then you got some very metallic riffing and lots of melody. Managed to even write a few good choruses and all that. And people seem to like it. I mean, I played the whole album to a few layman friends of mine who I can trust not to soften it up if they think it sucks and all that. And then been having quite a few interviews and people who have been getting like the what would it be? Pre-version
Hmm.
of the album seem to have been quite pleased with it. So that gives me confidence because of course, I'm old enough to know that you're not qualified to judge your own work.
Yeah. Well, and I think that would be kind of egotistical to judge your own work in a way, and you do not get those vibes from you whatsoever. I mean, I have been a personal fan of yourself since like 2004. I think I've followed you in your career and what you've been doing. So it's just this is really awesome that I get to be here and to sit here and chat with you
Yeah.
today.
Well,
I'm
of course, I get like I get feedback from the band guys if I bring them chorus and versions, some
mhm.
lyrics, and these guys are also pretty sharp and talented. They don't let it go easy. So if they think that this is going to make a good one, in fact, it was Mr. Tuomas Väinölä who first suggested to me that we should do a duet out of Left on Mars, because for me it had been love song so far, and I thought
Mhm.
that it's going to be my statement. Then I checked over the lyrics, and God damn it, you're right. And at that time, Tarja had asked me to do Phantom of the Opera together, so I had an idea to who ask, and there we go.
You pretty much answered my question with that. I was going to ask how that collaboration came about with Taya.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we cleared our shit already back in
Hmm.
2017 when we were doing the same tour and had some talks, and we made our lives since the past days and the ugly ending. And in the end, what you lose is friendship. And
Yeah.
that's the most important thing you lose. And after that, we've been kind of okay. Then we had that Swiss festival coming up to play, me with my band and she with hers. And then I got a message and a question. She was asking if I would like to do Phantom of the Opera. And I was like, whoa, yeah, exciting. Let's do it. And then we also had started demoing some new songs with the band. And the idea of doing duet out of Left on Mars had already been passed by, and so I was pretty, yeah, well, we know who to ask now.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a proper demo version out of it where I sang everything in some of her harmonies, and then artificial intelligences were happy enough to change it into a girl octave higher.
Yeah.
So we had a demo for Tarja. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes these things are useful. They are not so scary as they make them out to be.
Yeah.
Uh,
You just have to be able to use them correctly, you know.
yeah. In this way, it was way easier to build up a whole map of the song within the song and give it forward. She liked the song, said it's nicely classic rock and prog, which it of course it is. And so we went on it. She did it at the home studio in Spain. We just listened to the tracks, and they were really good. So I think we only asked for some double ups
Mm-hmm.
to beefing up the sound, and that was it. Then it of course becomes the most important song of the whole album project. So we had to start with that, with the recordings and my vocals and everything, and get the proper song to her, because of course we had to also do a video. Would have been idiots not to do a video out of that we're singing together finally.
Agreed.
Yeah, and all that. But we made the whole album too, and all the other songs, and now the fruits of our brain children are there. Or how do you
Mm-hmm.
see it?
Yeah, I was one of the lucky people. I actually spent this morning while I was out running errands, you know, doing boring everyday life chores, and I had the album on in my little earpiece, just like listening to it
Okay.
all. And there's a little bit of something for everybody, I think. And there's you pull
Okay.
from so many different influences, and of course, when you did bring out Left on Mars, and I was like, this features Tarja, I was like, oh my goodness. I did not know this was ever going to happen, especially with being an early Nightwish fan and then having your voices back together, which was,
Yeah.
it was
We
so
go
nice to
we
hear
we
again.
go a year, we go back a year, and I wouldn't know about it either. Something
Yeah.
actually a little bit over a year now already,
Yeah. Though
but yeah,
it's,
it kind of happened nicely and leads into all these touring together and
yeah.
singing a couple of nice duets, which of course is something that we cannot keep on doing forever. That
Mm-mm.
would be cheap. But for now, it's actually giving people a really good time.
Yeah. How
And
have you found
that
the response from the crowd during those shows?
very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it seems to be really emotional and
Yeah.
important to a lot of people. And that was what was apparent from that Switzerland show already with the Phantom of the Opera, because you could see people laughing and crying, and even an old dog of the road like me gets moved by that. This matters. Then, and I've always loved doing shows because it puts you in a good mood, puts a lot of people in a good mood, and you get out of the mundane world for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and it's refreshing and cheers you up, makes you more energetic next day at the work and all that. So here's to the Finnish politicians who think of cutting from culture is clever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess it's a trend everywhere.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah. But when you announce those tours together, and then of course listening to Left on Mars, and of course then seeing, because everybody now has these little black boxes, these phones,
Okay.
and you know they film the sets and they post that on YouTube, and seeing like little clips from there, I was like, I hope one day, I know you just announced for Mexico, but I hope one day that you and Tarja get to come together to the US. I know there's US
Mhm.
people that would love to see you both together, and I know it's hard to get over here, what with money and visas and everything with that comes
Yeah.
with that, but just know you have an audience over here that would absolutely adore it as well.
Yeah, I'm actually quite aware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a thing that of course I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And probably the management as well. But we're right in the middle of a management change now.
Okay.
So huge pile of information is transferring from one office from a bunch of guys to another bunch of guys in another office,
Right.
and they got to start building it all up. but it seems that we have more demand, which is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I would, even if you weren't anywhere near the state I live in, I would make a journey to whatever's the closest to me, just because I haven't seen Tarja live yet. I've only ever seen you live once, so just to see you
Okay.
back together would be amazing. So I would absolutely do that.
I know. Yeah, in May there's gonna be some of that in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know how close that would be. Probably the closest so far.
So far, so far. So going back to the album, could you tell us in your own words what the album is about and what it represents for you personally?
Mm, Kind of the most serious thing I got onto after having some really dark times,
Mm-hmm.
but also getting those things solved, finding out what it was about and how to get better. Yeah, started writing, started songs and lyrics again. And then my guys in the band that were asking, would you have any new ideas? It's about time. There's no pandemic or anything. And I said, what do you know? I got some ideas. I'll demo a few and send them over to you, which led into us then getting together here in my hometown in Finland and having a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a song camp type of things and put them together. And it was the same summer that we then took the demo of Left on Mars to Tarja. And by the end of the summer, we started to have all the things together. So we went to studio, rehearsed for a while, and started recording the album, which then, yeah, now it's here. And yeah, always had this like a personal aspiration to have a lot of identity for each song, to make them separate from each other. Also being lucky enough to fall in love with Black Sabbath, but then raised with a lot of different music and a lot of different influences. And it's the same kind of situations with the other guys in the band, talented and some of them very educated and played really a lot of albums and bands and all that. And by certain happenstance, like for instance with Anssi, the drummer, we've known for seriously long time. He's one of probably the most recorded drummer in Finnish history. He's been playing studio projects and bands for all his life. And we actually met in a musical camp when I was 15 and he was 16. That was already the time that we got along pretty nicely because we both recognized that he is a relaxed and funny dude with a shitload of potential. So kind of getting together was, I guess, just a matter of time with him. And then he's also been playing in different projects with Thomas Väinölä, who's my guitar player. We've been playing almost this 20 years, this Christmas project. So we've been knowing and respecting each other's abilities for quite a while. And Vili Ollila was on the album on the keyboards. It's a bit of a sad thing, but he needs to take care of some of his own issues. I know about those enough
Mm-hmm.
and know that they have to be taken care of. So Bob Engstrand is the new guy in the band. He's doing keyboards, but he's also known to Tuomas and Anssi. And to me, a little bit from further away, I know that he spent time in for instance, this other Finnish like prog group, One Hertzen Brothers. And so I could trust that he can play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this kind of people and these kind of basic ideas that gotta have album that has a lot of points of interest and versatility, musicians who are up to it and actually want it, then it becomes a thing like this, that you have things that have influenced or you're ripped off from some genre or another, and you fit it into a mold of your own thinking, and you end up with an album of a lot of versatility. But I guess the common thread would be to put it on under that hard prog and prog metal kind of stuff. That is the probably what the most of the album is made of. But yeah, lots of atmospheres and lots of lots of nuances.
Yeah, it also feels very personal to you lyric wise as well. With of course you
Yeah.
took the hiatus in
Mhm.
2021 for just over a year, and just like you say, sorting yourself out, that mental health, which is still somewhat taboo in today's society. We're getting better with
Mhm.
it, but I think it's important as somebody in the public eye, like when you feel like you're ready and you're getting back to it, to address those things. And I feel like you have
Yeah,
done that in
I mean, I think that the fear is the enemy of all kind
yeah.
of communication, and the politics is fear ultimately is the enemy of the people it tries to pull in, because it never leads into anything except fear,
Hmm.
even more fear. What you don't know, you fear the most. When you don't even know who your neighbor is, you fear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, also with the mental troubles, and then finding out that my diagnosis that had been like depression for 20 years, but then the depression was just a syndrome,
Hmm.
a symptom. And it was because I had always felt myself a little bit of an alien. That was because of the ADHD ever since I was born.
Hmm.
And even though I always been in this body myself and didn't feel it that debilitating, apparently to your subconscious and to your mind, being a part of the social and tribal species is harmful.
Hmm.
And this is very common in ADHD, that you do not get diagnosed, but you do get depression and anxiety,
Yep.
because you're always comparing that how much you understand the other people, how much they seem to understand each other, how well do they understand you, how well you get things done and across and all that, and you seem to be coming short.
Hmm.
And it's really goddamn hard to understand why. You got all the data, all the information. How did this thing get so screwed up? It's all about communication and understanding, and that's always been troublesome. So you're an alien,
Hmm.
and you get those symptoms which can kill you.
Yep.
So yeah, then going away from everything, and now I'm going to find out what's wrong with me. I had a psychiatrist team here in Finland, another one in Spain, where I went just in order to escape all the circles that I had in my life,
Right.
get a little bit more sunlight to the winter weather,
Yeah.
in order that not to affect me. Um, One of the new guys here in Finland said that when he's listening to me, he's starting to think that I should take neuropsychological tests for ADHD. And I was like, oh, okay, how do these things connect? And he told me about the connection. And I read about it and all that, oh, fuck, these things, they seem to click a bit. Better take those tests, and here we go. All your old meds and their useless combos, and that eventually would stop working, into the trash. One depression pill in order not to drop into the same groove of thoughts too many times. And then you get the ADHD meds, and within some weeks, you start to feel weirdly different.
Hmm.
It was really weird, because I didn't know what was going on, that I feel this like emptiness humming in my head. And then I kind of, yeah, it's emptiness, because I'm not worrying all the time. My imagination isn't full of things that should be fixed or should have been fixed years ago. I don't feel pressured
Hmm.
from anything. And it's great. But I had to kind of realize it's great, because I hadn't felt like that in years.
Right. You had to go through that readjustment period of
Yeah, and
feeling.
then all these things about music and writing again, they started to come together back in that same spring. which is, I've heard quite a lot of people say that they're happy for me and all that, but still, without any kind of insult or degrading, I guess no one can be as happy as me or my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet that's what I think about because my sister is going through somewhat of those testing things right now for herself. And she's in her early 30s. And it makes me question myself sometimes because, like you say, you feel like you see all these people connecting and they're able to communicate and do it effectively between themselves. Whereas I'm here and I feel out like an outsider sometimes. I'm like, I don't know how to fully
Indeed.
say what I want to say or talk about how I'm feeling and then you tend to hide that away and that's like one of the worst things you can do. I'm glad that you took
Yep.
the you know the I'm glad you took the chance to go and get tested and find out these things about yourself because now you can come out of that and start feeling I'm not going to say normal because what's normal in this world,
Mm,
but start feeling
not
better
much.
and well, yeah. But
Maybe the
I
length of the year.
yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that I was incredibly saddened by your decision, but I understood it at the same time. And because we all I think every human being without a doubt needs a break sometimes, especially your touring schedule with Nightwish was absolutely insane. What with after the
Sometimes, yeah.
pandemic and and world touring and you've got a family at home, like you say, your wife and who's missing you and it's
Mm.
I don't know how musicians like yourself do it, but I know it's that passion, that
Well,
deep burning passion at the end of the day that pushes you through. But
yeah, I think it is kind of that. I don't know if I can feel it as that kind of a burning passion anymore because
mm-hmm,
it's writing, hearing, recording, doing music live. It's like very much very big part of my whole mental build up and backbone and all that.
yeah,
It's there and I cannot give it up. So I guess it had to be quite clear to my wife in the beginning also that I got a calling.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
then again, it helps to be on the successful side of it because it helps to keep the house on your head. And
yeah.
wife is also calculating because I realized that you got to handle the information, the touring schedule, so that we both get it.
Right.
Because I'm bound to forget a lot of things because I got constant
Mm-hmm.
overclocking going on there. And so I make sure that all the info goes to her as well. And when there's time to talk about how do we manage this, how do we manage this, then it's to both of us a situation where we want to solve it and not just fight about it,
Right.
which was often happening in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and yeah, it's pretty nice to be accepted as who you are. This is also one way of me like being institutionalized and safe,
Yeah.
like a guy in jail. I mean, when I'm touring, the days they have certain schedules,
Mm-hmm.
structures, and it always has the goal of doing the show at the end of the day. And usually, the show is a very great thing for the brain chemistry of all of us
Mm-hmm.
there in the band and in the audience and
Mm-hmm.
everything, because usually they end up being, no matter how grim and dark your song should is at the moment, you still enjoy those emotions. You enjoy the escapism, the world where you're pulled into, and all that. In the end, you go away like, "Woo, great!"
Yeah.
with a grin and everything. And that's my aim with the live shows for everybody in the band and everybody in the audience.
I think that's important because to me, honestly, there's nothing like going to see one of your favorite musicians, and just being in that atmosphere with like-minded people. And like you say, that the songs don't necessarily have to be happy, or they could be as deeply personal as that musician wants them to be, but just experiencing that and just
Mhm.
going home from that and taking that home, and then you've got that special feeling for a little bit that keeps you going for a little bit. And also, I think with the album, I feel like there's many songs that a lot of people are gonna connect with, and obviously
Mhm.
your voice is very powerful and it's very emotive at the same time. Is this something that you think about while you're recording for studio, that you have to get these emotions across and deliver them so that
Mhm.
when it is not perform live, but when it's listened to, whether that's live or whether that's in studio, that's it's important to get those feelings across?
Yes, for sure. I mean, writing lyrics, I gotta be able to write something that I can stand by,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's just an imaginary fictional story or whether it's based on real things. And I think we got all of these there on the album. There's a lot of high fantasy
Mm-hmm.
and some sci-fi elements, and then some very real stuff too, about the feelings of alienation, for instance, already in Left on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
But also the use of voice as a medium of communication. Of course, you can pay attention to the technical sides of singing, but I do want to color it with the story,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to color the story with the voice as well. So, and I think myself that this is one of the areas where I have like real strength. So of course I cultivate it and try to be really like into the text that I'm doing at the time and all that.
Yeah. You definitely feel that when you listen. I mean, that's why I have been a personal long-time fan of yours, and your voice is just because you do feel that emotion that, like you say, even if it's about something fantasy-esque or if it's real life, you still feel
Mhm.
that connection. And that's why I love what you do and what you bring to music.
Yeah. And if we take a title song, it's a Roses from the Deep. It's a romantic ghost story,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But then again, romance is always more convincing if you've experienced some.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep, for sure. Talking
Mm.
of the album, the artwork itself is beautiful. Where did the inspiration come from for that?
The artwork overall, there's a lot of photography that I took myself there in the inner pages that I
Mm-hmm.
feel have a connection to the lyrics. Some of them might be even a bit comic. Uh, but then we gave a few like the front cover ideas to Hertta who was doing the whole artwork compilation
Mm-hmm.
and all the like the fitting together cover artwork and all that. And this was actually one of the things that she did as a bonus, the half split that is
Mm-hmm.
there in the cover. And I think we were all, whoa, whoa, that captures the eye. But if it captures the eye, is it the best? I think it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And then first we kind of had to figure it out with the band. Then all those demos had gone to the record company, and they were already, this is the best. Look at this one, that it's a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but what do you think? Is it effective? Does it grab you? And then they started, yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, let's use that.
Yeah.
So thanks to Herta, guys, she found a nice essence of the thing there. And Roses from the Deep, it gets a whole new symbolic meaning when you see those things coming out of a head.
Well, I think it fits the album itself perfectly because, like you say, it's that split between, like, the bottom half is of course a portrait of yourself, but then the
Yeah.
top is like all of the elements within the album, and it's like it's busting out of your imagination, if you will, and it's really eye-catching, and it's really
Yeah.
beautiful. Like I saw that
And
and I thought it was perfect for the album cover.
yeah, and having a split head on the album cover sounds more death metal, but I think it's way more clean and nice how it's done.
Yeah. No, it's for me it has that romantic feel, like you say, Roses from the Deep. The song itself has that connection as well, so it really fits and it really works. So talking about inspiration, where do you personally draw your inspiration from for all of these songs?
Hmm. Um, in quite a few, it's about a few lines that I come up with, and I feel that they have some meaning, and I gotta find it. Like Frankenstein's wife was pretty easy because I did get the chorus pretty fast.
Hmm.
Then just had to put my tongue in a cheek and put some stitches and romance in the same heart. Um, and that's how that started to come to be. Also, Thomas again had some really nice melody for to start going into the verse. So he was helping me there out a lot there too. Um, and then there are some things like Left on Mars, which sounds sci-fi fantasy, but is connected to the reality of how I felt like I could have been on a different planet without
Hmm.
air or food already. But then there is someone who makes that crossing to lift you up and maybe even get back. And that was originally a love song for my wife.
Hmm.
Because she did those things for me. And then it really ended up being a duet. So in the end, the inspiration, it can be from your own thoughts, but it can also very much be from what you hear anywhere, anytime. And I've always tried to be open with that because because basically you can see a touching thing between a young mother and the little kids in the
Hmm.
your nearby market
Hmm.
or whatever. And it may give you thoughts for some lines. And then those they can give you thoughts of what color the music itself would have. And sometimes you get a piece of music that is already in the mood of it going into some direction. And all these things when there's time for album, I usually end up putting these things together and finding out which fit together or which have to be their songs of their own. And then I get a bunch of very versatile and talented musicians also who happen to be very much in favor of hard, punchy rock
Hmm.
from their childhood, but I have also been doing a lot of music, listening to different stuff in studio and playing it and learning a lot of in that process. So I have a group that is very much ready to go at the more complicated song structures and different vibes and atmospheres melded together quite seamlessly. And so we end up on the progressive side of metal and hard rock.
Yeah, which is that's what I grew up with too. Like you mentioned Black Sabbath earlier, and my dad was very much into Sabbath, to Zeppelin, David Bowie. Those types
Yeah,
of bands, and that's what I grew up with, and that's why I love. That's what's deep rooted in my soul too. So,
yeah, those are the bands and artists that my brother actually started bringing home. Dad was a little bit older. He was a
mm-hmm,
big jazz freak. So, but then again, that also brought quite a lot of musical information to our lives from the younger side.
yeah,
And he had some really nice stuff if you think about them vocally and harmonically, like
mm-hmm,
60s albums from Beatles, Sgt. Peppers, and Simon and Garfunkel,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Bridge Over Troubled Water stuff and that. And I still have those roots in myself too, probably melodically and harmonically and all that. And then at the time when me and my brother really got hooked into a heavier stuff and all that, started also feeding the Sabbath side of things and Purple to our dad, who was interested. Okay, so the solos, there's a lot of same kind of improvisation thingies like what is in the jazz, and that John Lord, he must understand some fuga theory because this sounds like Bach, and yeah. So we started to connect with those things then all.
Yeah. But that's what I love about music is no matter the genre or no matter what style, you can pull inspiration from it into your own work, and why limit yourself to just one thing, and I don't know. That's
Yeah.
I have a love for music too. I don't have any talent within music, or I can't sing or anything, but I am a consumer of music. I have been since I was very, very, very little.
Mm.
My I think my mum said the only thing that would keep me quiet as a child was Disney's Fantasia, which of course has that very classical, and then the
Yeah.
animation. And she said she would just put the VH tape in and then rewind it as when it finished, and I'd just sit there in awe, like, and then of
Yeah.
course with my dad with the more heavy metal proggy sort of stuff. Then finding symphonic metal, I was like, what is this magic? You know?
Yeah. And I mean, music is great for kids.
Yeah,
They just get into it so naturally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. There is one regret I do have, and my grandma was a piano teacher, and I wish I'd have stuck with her and kept learning, but I just
Mm.
kids being kids, you know, just
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I mean, I took some piano lessons, but the teacher at the time, who was like an old school teacher by real profession, she kind of
yeah,
managed to destroy my enthusiasm at that time because it was just strictly she would put on some notes and do this and this, and then
hmm,
she would disappear and I would be trying to figure out what do they mean. And
yeah,
in the end, it was way easier to just grab one of my dad's acoustic and put one finger down and tap with the other, and you
hmm,
already got the riff from most of the songs of status quo.
yeah. Well, and I think that's the other issue with learning with my grandma, because she didn't have to have the patience with her grandkids like she did with her students. So it was, different kind of
Yeah,
relationship. And so I think that's probably
yeah,
part of the reason also. Well, Marko,
yeah.
I'm not going to
Mm.
keep you much longer. What are your rest of year plans?
Well, a day after tomorrow, I'll get back on the Christmas tour track, do some more shows, then go to mom's place to have a nice Christmas dinner when it's holidays. Oh, I'll try to keep January as free as possible, but I suspect I'm going to be doing quite a lot of interviews more
Mm-hmm.
since the album is coming in February. But at least I don't have any shows. So
Yeah.
I'll go to the base in Spain and get together with my girls,
Mm-hmm.
all of them, wife and the kid and the dog, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And that's the immediate future. But then again, the album comes. There's a lot of touring to be done in the springtime. Festivals are lining up for the summer 25, and then some more touring in the fall time. Yeah, that's what happens when you release an album to
Mm-hmm.
do a TV show, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Well,
Busy, busy.
busy, busy.
Do you have any last words for anybody watching this interview, just of thanks for the support or anything like that?
For sure. Because one of the great things here is that I did take some time off. I went into a seclusion, and public is fickle. They can forget you and they can find new things and whatnot. But it seems that a lot of people are actually happy to see me come back. And yeah, I really am grateful for that. Because, well, again, all that understanding that I built during the past few years about being different and how you should evaluate yourself. Oh, this is also very, it gives you confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm thankful for that. It's way more easier to deal with things when you actually see and then remember that you've managed to do things that actually matter to quite a lot of people, and you still have your wits and your faculties and all that to do that more. And I'm happy to be there. So yeah, thank you for that to all of you out there.
Yeah, we're incredibly happy to have you back doing what you love. And of course, guys, the album Roses from the Deep is out on February 7th via Nuclear Blast. I will leave the pre-order link down below in the description, along with all of
Okay,
the
thank you.
links where you can find Marko on his all of the socials and everything like that. Marko,
Yeah,
it's
I'm a
been
little bit bad with myself there.
I'm
So
not the best.
I'm a very random visitor in my own pages too. But I do try to make sure that all the essential information comes there.
Yeah. Well, I will leave all of that down below in the description. Marko, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been good time.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a Taurian. Speaking of becoming a Taurian, all of my social media links and my Discord link are down below in the description. We'd absolutely love to have you come hang out in the Discord community, and I will see you guys in the next video. Rock on.